Hello and welcome to the second part of analyzing the company environment. Last week we discussed the microenvironment of the company, and we said that the microenvironment is the environment that contains the more close factors to the company, like the customers, the suppliers, the intermediaries, and the company departments. Today we will continue the discussion of the environment by discussing the macro environment, which consists of the larger and the broader environment and factors that affect the business industry or affecting the company itself. First of all, I want to conclude that we are discussing those environments in order to be able to respond to the environment. If we have a company and we want to succeed in the market, then we need to analyze and make real assessment to the environment in order to succeed in the business. We can analyze the macro environment by using one of the models that we already discussed in previous course, which is the STEEP model. As you know, that STEEP model consists of the 5 factors that we will discuss today, inshallah, which is the sociological environment, technological environment, economical, environmental, and political environment. So today, inshallah, we will have those factors in detail, and we will discuss each one of them to know deeply what are the effects of those environments or those factors to the company. The first factor is the demographic factor, and the demographic factor means the characteristics of the population. You know that we are focusing in the marketing, we are focusing on the customers. So those customers as individuals or as groups have some characteristics, and those characteristics, for example, like the age, categories, education, income level, and the structure, for example, of the family or the structure of the society. In the Western culture or in the Western society, there are some studies that categorize the community into different age groups. Like, for example, the baby boomers, and the baby boomers, the group of people who was born between 1946 and 1964. That means those people are now in the age from the mid-40s to more than 60s. In the Arab world, this age group make about 30% of the Arab population. And when we say 30%, that means the remaining 70% of the population is less than 50 years old. That means the Arab world or the Arab countries are young countries, and this is observed in a lot of Arab countries. Like, for example, the Gulf countries are an obvious example of the younger population. The second age group, we call it the Generation X group, or we sometimes call them Generation Xers. And the Generation Xers are the people who was born between 65 to 76. There are common characteristics of this generation, like for example, they tend to be skeptic. They are more cautious than the baby boomers about the economic situation, and there are some reasons for this, because in the Western countries, like for example the North America and Western Europe, the Generation Xers lived in some bad circumstances, like for example the financial crisis and other circumstances that happened at that time. Here I want to say something about the baby boomers and Generation Xers, and also the millennials, which we will discuss after the Generation Xers. I just want to say that not all the characteristics of baby boomers and Generation Xers or millennials can be applied to all the generations all over the world. Means that when I say Generation Xers are cautious about economic outlook, this is not correct in every country, but because there were a lot of studies related to baby boomers and Generation Xers and millennials in North America or in Western Europe, those studies suggested that Generation Xers are cautious about economic outlook, are less materialistic, are family oriented, and also they are cautious about when they are considering a purchase. Finally, the millennials, or we can call them Generation Y or eco boomers. Those are the people who was born between 1977 until 2000. And the common characteristics between those people is that they like technology, because they were born and learned technology from their childhood. And the millennials have also three subgroups. The group of tweens, and the age of this group is between 8 and 12. The teens between 13 and 19, and young adults who are above 20s. When we discuss the generations in marketing, we are trying to think that each group has different needs than the other groups. But for successful marketing, we have to focus, in addition of the age, we have to focus on also the lifestyle and the common values or common attitudes, rather than only the age. In the Arab world, we all know that the age factor plays significant role. For example, in the family, the father and mother who are older than the child, they have certain responsibilities, whereas the child also have another responsibilities. And for example, when we discuss the gender here, we say that also in Arab world, we have also different characteristics for each gender or for each sex. Like for example, the father is responsible for the financial aid to the family, whereas the mother is responsible for providing good feelings, providing personal help to the child, and also taking care of the house tasks. And usually the child, the boy child, help his father, and the girl child help her mother in doing, for example, the house tasks. So the gender and the age in the Arab world play significant roles, so that we need to consider those factors in the marketing activities. Like, for example, if we want to make an advertisement, then to reflect the society or the culture of the society, we need to make sure that we are giving the right task or the right role to each one of the families. In the Arab world also we have some new culture is being created. Like, for example, the culture of that the woman is work like the man. She has a job like the man, and also she is well educated. Also in the Arab world there is a new trend in the Arab societies. These societies have a high number of expatriates. If we want to have an example here, we can say that a society like United Arab Emirates have around 85 to 89% of the population consists of expatriates. That means the national Emirates population is around 11 to 15% only. In Kuwait, we have the same thing. In Saudi Arabia, for example, we have around 15 to 18% expatriates. And those expatriates affecting the society by, for example, their relationships with the citizens. They share some cultural aspects and they add to the culture of the society, and they take also from the culture, from the citizen culture. The education also, if we talk about the education in the Arab countries before like 30 or 40 years, the education was not well spread or not penetrated in the population like now. Now most of the people are educated, and some of them have higher education also. And this was done by the assessment of the government and also by the changing culture of the people. This is the same issue of the population, is that the population now is diversified. The population now is diversified, means that in the Arab countries we have national people and we have expatriates. The second is the economic environment, and the economic environment consists of the factors that affect the purchasing power of the consumer. We know that most of the Arab countries can be considered as developing countries, and that means that they are in their way to be developed countries. Developed countries like North America and Western Europe have a lot of industries, and we can sometimes call them industrial countries, whereas the developing countries like, for example, the Gulf countries or India, China, Brazil, and Russia, those can be considered as developing countries. Those countries have less industries, but they are trying to be developed countries. Some of the countries like India or China has very high population, and this can be considered as an opportunity for the companies that are working in those countries. The market is high, and if you have any industry there, you can find market easily. Of course, if we think of the high population, we can also consider it as the threat, because the competition will be also high. When we say value marketing, we mean that the companies try to create value to the customers. This can be done by doing the right combination between the quality of the product, the service, and the price. Ernst Engel studied the relationship between the income and spending on food, for example, and housing and saving, and he found that when the income increased, the spending on food decreased, whereas spending on housing remains constant, and spending on saving the natural environment, and the natural environment involves the natural resources. And when we study the natural environment in the Arab world, we can recognize some trends, like, for example, shortage in the raw materials, increasing in the pollution, increase in the government intervention, that means the government controlling the raw materials, and the companies' strategies that include the factor of sustainability. The technological environment, which consists of the technologies and this factor affecting the business, because you know that when the new technology comes, then the previous technology will decline, and we are witnessing the decline of desktop computers as an example of declining industries. Now most of the consumers prefer to use iPad or for example the mobile phones more than using their desktops or laptops. The political environment consists of the law and government agencies and pressure groups that influence or limit various organizations and individuals in given society. Political environment affects the business because you know that, for example, here in Saudi Arabia, when the new Minister of Commerce came, he tried to enhance the market, the Saudi market, by creating some laws and regulations and try to control the market to the favor of consumers, and he was being also fair with the businessmen so that the market will be better market. The cultural also, the cultural environment is also one of the factors that we can discuss in the macro environment. And the cultural environment consists of the values and attitudes, perceptions and behaviors of the people. Here we can use one of the well-known models in studying the culture, which is the 5 dimensions, Hofstede's 5 dimensions, to study the cultural environment very well. But here we are discussing also 2 groups of beliefs and values. And the first one is the core beliefs and values, and those are the fixed values that passed on from the parents to child. Like, for example, the Islamic values, it's passed by the parents, by school and by government. Okay, and we have another group of values and beliefs, which is the secondary beliefs and values. And those values are more open to change. Like, for example, people's view of themselves or others, organizations, society, nature, and the universe. After studying the environment, the macro environment factors, finally we conclude by answering the question of how can we respond to those marketing environment or to the changes happened in my marketing environment. The first point here is the uncontrollable factors. Those are the factors that we cannot control, something that's out of our control. We must react and adapt to those forces. If we cannot change it, we can adapt to those forces. And some of the factors we can be proactive, means that we must act before the event happened. And finally, some of the factors that we need to react for them. But here, the proactive is better than the reactive. Means that if we know that something will happen, it's better to react, to make reaction before the thing happened. This is better than we wait until the problem happened and then try to act based on this problem. So this is the end of chapter 3, and next week we will discuss chapter 5, inshallah. Thank you very much, and see you next week.